All right, let's just jump right into this. Picture this. We are stepping directly into the shoes of our protagonist for a fascinating and honestly kind of terrifying scenario. In this explainer, we're dissecting the anatomy of a slow, agonizing collapse. We're going to look at exactly how it is entirely possible to lose nearly $1 million in just 31 months. So imagine this. You're 34 years old, you're making, a respectable $61,000 a year managing inventory. And then suddenly, bam, this exact number, $983,400 lands right in your checking account. That is the final amount, after taxes and attorney fees, from your late grandmother's estate. Think about how staggering that is. Seeing that sum of money in an account that literally yesterday had maybe $214 left to last you until payday. Which brings us to the core mystery here, right? How on earth do you lose $1 million in just 3 years? And the answer is, well, it's both incredibly mundane and deeply terrifying because the coming collapse, it's not caused by some massive, loud disaster. It's not a crazy cinematic Vegas gambling spree. No, it's caused by a series of quiet, seemingly reasonable decisions that just slowly chip away at the foundation. Section 1, the $1 million windfall and the Mercedes. You see, the immediate aftermath of a windfall like this is incredibly disorienting. You've got this immense, almost incomprehensible liquidity just sitting there in a regular checking account right next to your very real $18,700 in credit card debt. Everything looks the same, but absolutely nothing feels right. So you vow to make 0 moves for 60 days. You're going to be smart about this, but you only hold out for 19. You go out and buy a pre-owned Mercedes GLC 300 for $54,200. Now, you negotiate the price down, which kind of makes it feel disciplined, right? You justify this first major purchase by telling yourself that replacing your old, beat-up Honda with the cracked dashboard is, well, it's a safety issue. It feels responsible. But when you write that check, it doesn't even feel like real money yet. It feels like permission. And just like that, we hit our first balance drop. The account now sits at $929,200. Now, you aren't really tracking this consciously yet, which sets up this whole dwindling countdown motif we're going to see. The zeros have shifted, but the true gravity of that movement, it hasn't quite registered. Moving on to Section 2, family, friends, and funding. Almost immediately, the social pressures kick in. Your mom calls, she needs $22,000 to avoid a foreclosure. And in that exact same phone call, you find out your younger brother needs 15 grand to settle a lawsuit from a business that went under. This is a brilliant illustration of what we can call the reasonable fallacy. In your head, you're just helping family in a time of crisis. You literally tell yourself, hey, family is the whole point of having money anyway. But the reality? The reality is much darker. You are making unsecured loans, 0 paperwork, no operating agreements, and absolutely no conversation about how or when you're getting paid back. So, $37,000 leaves your account without so much as a ceremony. Your new reality is a balance of $892,200. And you feel good. You feel incredibly good about who you are, the generous family savior. But you only feel good about it for exactly 6 days. Section 3, the silent lifestyle creep. Okay, this is where we enter the most insidious phase. You decide to move out of your thin-walled, 1-bedroom apartment that costs $1,100 a month and into a luxury 2-bedroom place with quartz countertops for $2,650 a month. Then comes almost 15 grand in high-end design studio furniture to match the new place. And it's all justified by one single dangerous thought. I can afford it now. Watch how this snowballs. Step 1, you've got that baseline lifestyle upgrade. Step 2 is the quiet social restructuring. Dinners suddenly cost more, you start picking up the checks, you're booking the nicer hotels on group trips. Step 3, a college friend surfaces out of nowhere needing a $40,000 bridge loan for an app that, predictably, never actually materializes. Your monthly living costs have quietly crept from $2,200 to $8,000. And the craziest part? Not a single one of these purchases ever announced itself as a catastrophic problem. Section 4, poor financial architecture. By the time we hit month 16, the narrative focus shifts entirely. We are moving past isolated poor decisions, like, an expensive car or a bad loan to a buddy, and straight into a phase of structurally disastrous financial architecture. The deals get bigger and the structures get so much worse. You drop $58,000 into your brother's food truck on a handshake. No LLC, no operating agreement. You finally hire a financial advisor, but you don't actually know enough to check if he's a fiduciary, so he dumps $200,000 into actively managed mutual funds with permanently draining 1.4% expense ratios. Then you just blindly wire 120 grand for equity in a self-storage facility. Why? Because of some unverified pitch deck projecting 14% cash-on-cash returns. Yikes. Now, the sheer unadulterated terror of your remaining liquid cash balance is, well, it's striking. Outside of your tied-up investments, you literally only have $38,000 left. The structural situation is critical at this point. Your financial architecture can no longer absorb even a single mistake. And that theoretical cushion you thought you had? It's entirely gone. Section 5. The inevitable collapse. This is where we chronologically track those final dominoes falling. And it's a really harsh contrast between the loud, obvious business closures and the silent, invisible bleed of your mutual fund. Trace the velocity of this collapse with me. The storage facility trickles out a few distributions by month 4, sure, but by month 12, it files for receivership. That $120,000 investment is now estimated to net pennies on the dollar. By month 22, your brother calls with a pretty useless apology. The food truck got repossessed, meaning your 30% equity stake is worth exactly nothing. And then, by month 31, you log into your bank app on a Sunday morning, and your liquid account has plummeted to $34,700. Section 6. The $830,900 education. This brings us to the agonizing month 31 liquidation. You're forced to sell that declining mutual fund. After the fees and the taxes, you net a meager $141,200. You pay off the $23,000 in credit card debt that you quietly rebuilt, and at age 37, you are left with just $152,500 total. So where exactly did $830,900 go? The breakdown is stark. Business failures, uncollateralized loans to friends and family, lifestyle creep, car depreciation, and market fees. Honestly, the hardest part isn't even losing it. The hardest part is understanding that every single increment had a seemingly rational, even virtuous justification in real time. So the crucial point here, the big takeaway, is this profound realization. Liquidity is not wealth. Just because you have access to a massive amount of cash does not magically grant you the financial literacy, the discipline, or the architecture required to protect it. A number on a screen is meaningless without an actual strategy. And please, let this bitter lesson sink in. The people who love you will present you with their problems the very moment they believe you have the capacity to absorb them. Giving money without documentation or due diligence? That isn't investing in your family or friends. It is simply making a donation with paperwork that doesn't exist. Here is the ultimate heartbreaking truth of it all. You made every single mistake on this journey with the sincere intention of doing the right thing. You wanted to help your mom. You believed in your brother. You wanted to grow your wealth. But the cold, hard truth is that intentions do not save bank balances. Money only measures decisions. Which leaves us with this. The grandmother who left the inheritance, she sat on that money for 40 years. She never let it rewrite her life. Now, was that restraint, or was it a profound, quiet wisdom? Think about it. If you were handed $1 million tomorrow, what would you actually do? Will you let a windfall rewrite your life, or will you command it with the quiet wisdom to know exactly who you are before the money arrives? Think about your structure, build your financial literacy, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.